What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today once again we've got a variety of topics to discuss. Why Trials is broken and a bit strange this weekend, some interesting stuff about Mercury and how it ties into the DLC, and some exotics and some other things worth noting as well. So firstly, let's talk about Trials of the Nine. So it seems there was a slight issue with it today when it launched, and the map was a little bit broken, so Bungie had to change it, and the game mode as well, to Countdown on Eternity, so the same one it was last week. If you enjoyed it before, I guess that's good news to you, but this week it was of course supposed to be on the Mercury map, Altar of Flame, and the game mode was Survival, that skirmish type mode with 8 lives, so it's pretty funny because Trials was successfully running on the map for about 2 hours, and then some sort of exploit was discovered, and then minutes later everyone was moved to orbit, sometimes mid-game, and then you'd fly back to Eternity to play Countdown if you continue to load it into Trials. So it's pretty crazy how fast they made that change. So 1 second you're on Mercury, next second you're back on Eternity. So for all the people asking what's up with Trials this weekend, why it's the same map, this is what happened and why, and hopefully that answers a lot of the confusion. Now, Lars Barkin, the lead designer of the Crucible, tweeted saying Survival on Altar of Flame is going to come back. We just didn't want the weekend to be sullied for people. Thanks for understanding. So depending on how long it takes Bungie to fix the exploit, Altar of Flame and Survival is going to be back for Trials, and I guess they're going to push the rotation back of all the other maps and modes. But it's nice to see how seriously they take Trials. I was looking forward to trying out the map, but I do like Eternity as well, so I guess not all that bad. And Mercury is a little bit broken at the moment. Now, speaking of Mercury being broken, as a perfect segue into the next thing I want to talk about, there's a pretty big detail about Destiny 2 that's been glossed over a little bit, but could be pretty important as to something we play in the future. Now, I'm assuming all of you have completed the campaign by now, but for the 3 of you that haven't, this is obviously a small story spoiler, but we saw the Almighty arrive to try and blow up our sun, and in doing so, it siphoned materials from Mercury, and in the process, ripping it apart completely, and half of the planet is destroyed now, so you can see it in the end cutscene. It is definitely not in a good state. And now the interesting thing is that, of course, the first expansion coming in December, called the Curse of Osiris, is based on Mercury. Now, this will be the main planet. There's going to be a patrol space there. The lighthouse is going to be a proper social space now. The main enemy is going to be the Vex, and we're going to be time traveling to rescue Osiris. So it's very possible that when we go there, we'll be seeing in first person this busted up version of Mercury if we go to that area, but it's also possible we might not, because the lighthouse is in the Calora Spires area, which is next to this Destiny 2 map, Altar of Flame, where this takes place, and there's no sign of it being destroyed, so maybe we'll just go to the undestroyed half. But I feel like Bungie deliberately made this for a reason, and it would be very cool if we were running around in all this rubble and seeing the skybox all ripped up with this Vex-torn planet. Now, another very interesting detail about this DLC and Mercury in general is that the main area we'll be playing as is called the Infinite Forest. Now, we know this as official info, it's not leaked anymore, it's been officially released by Bungie and Activision on the Xbox Marketplace when you pre-order the expansion. But Jason Schreier from Kotaku, who of course leaked this expansion before it was announced, did say this area, the Infinite Forest, is going to be procedurally generated. Now, obviously this isn't confirmed, so do take it with a grain of salt, but like I say every time, Kotaku are very, very spot on with this stuff. He claims to have inside sources at Bungie, and he's never been wrong so far about this info, and these sources were the first ones to initially leak this DLC before it was actually announced. So his sources about this DLC were definitely right before, so it's safe to assume they're also right about this Infinite Forest. So if you don't know what the term procedurally generated means in terms of gaming, essentially it's that each time you load into an area is different and it's made up by the game engine. So think of No Man's Sky or Minecraft just on a Destiny scale. So each time the game has a bunch of options on what the map and kind of geometry can look like, and it randomly creates a different area every time you load in. Now, this is still, of course, Destiny, so I wouldn't expect massive changes, but things like lost sectors being in different spots, the route is slightly different every time, rock formations are different, so expect things to be shifted around slightly each time you visit. And it also does make perfect sense because it's called the Infinite Forest. That is the official name of this area in the expansion, so it implies there are infinite possibilities of what it could look like. And this planet has, of course, been completely transformed by the Vex to use time travel, so they could randomly generate a new area every time. So having different versions of this forest does fit perfectly into the lore of the Vex and how they work. So just some interesting aspects of Mercury in this DLC that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. So something else interesting that happened today was to do with Xur. Now, it seems that Bungie threw in a little Easter egg with his inventory, which is that he sold the Wardcliff Coil, or the Dubious Folly rocket launcher. Now, the reason this is funny is because back in Destiny 1, the second week of Xur, he also sold the Galahorn, which of course was the most famous weapon in Destiny history, and it was a running joke that nobody bought it back in the second week because everyone considered it a bit of a waste to spend all your strange coins on an exotic heavy. So I don't think it's a coincidence that also on the second week of Destiny 2 Xur, out of all the exotics, he sells another rocket launcher again, and especially seeing as how famous this weapon is, there's definitely a bit of symmetry going on between the Galahorn and this Wardcliff Coil. So in case you're wondering how this stacks up to the original G-Horn and if the Wardcliff is worth buying, I mean, I don't think anyone's really short of legendary shards, so it's not really much of a question like it was in Destiny 1, but you should definitely buy everything just so you have it in the kiosk collection if you ever want it. But this rocket is definitely very good. It's kind of like a shotgun rocket launcher because it's only very good at close range, and it does do a ton of damage to enemies that are close. But beyond shotgun range, it isn't really that great. Still worth getting, but definitely not a long-range rocket launcher like most of them. And the other exotic armor pieces aren't fantastic if I'm honest, but still worth buying if you have the shards spare. Now, something else I wanted to mention was a cool announcement from Bungie, and that's that they're extending the sale of their pins on the store, which of course give you those super rare emblems in-game, which are very limited edition. Of course, all the money of this goes to charity for the hurricanes and natural disasters happening recently, and the sale of these pins was supposed to stop, but they decided to extend it until October 8th. So if you don't know, every penny that's made on this Bungie store goes to charity, so this store is basically non-profit. And they said the first campaign made over $500,000 for the hurricane victims alone, which is really impressive. And then to kick off this new campaign, they're also donating another $100,000. So if you want to get some cool stuff from there, this is definitely a good time. And of course, a ton of stuff on this store does come with codes for in-game emblems, as you can see some of them right here. But these basically end up being some of the rarest emblems in the game because they're so limited edition. Most of the time, they're never sold again, or you never get codes for these. So something cool I wanted to let you guys know about. Give to charity and get some rare emblems out of it, and I'll link the store down below in the description. But as always, if you enjoyed the video, then like ratings are always massively appreciated. If you never want to miss a new video from me, then make sure you are subscribed and click the bell to turn notifications on. If you want to watch another video from me, then click the image on screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.